Hello, I'm Mark.
I'm Casey.
Welcome to Tesla Express, where today we're going to talk a little bit about convenience stores and how gas stations at convenience stores are being forced to change. Roll that title.
You're watching the Tesla Life Express.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining with us today on the Tesla Life as we saw a little article that came out recently, and it was from Shell Oil Company. Now, Shell is a well-known oil company brand, been across the world. They're actually, I think they're based now out of London, England, although they are a worldwide brand. They're everywhere. They announced that over the next 2 years, they're going to be closing 1,000 Shell service stations. And what they're going to be doing with that saved money is they're going to be concentrating or focusing in on EV public charging, is what the news release indicated. So this is Shell indicating that they believe that some of their customers are starting to drop the pump and move on to EV. And they want to make sure that they don't lose that customer for life. They're going to try to put some structure in place to build a charging hub of sorts that will allow people, maybe in urban areas that don't have access to a plug at home, to be able to charge or charge on the road in between trips. So this was a kind of an interesting article, and it's really the writing on the wall for some convenience stores, because we've seen this now for a little while, that there's been a number of announcements from other groups indicating that they're looking to make this somewhat transition as well, even if they're maybe keeping their pumps, but they're adding EV infrastructure to the same site. So, Casey, can you think of another convenience brand that has made this leap as well?
Yeah, Wawa, Buc-ee's. You've got Mr. Dooley out in Maryland, out of Tacoma Park. He's not a brand, but he ripped out the gas pumps and became the first of what I call the gasless stations. And of course, Shell is also getting out. They closed their 6 hydrogen stations, so they're focusing on where the future actually is. And this is kind of good to see. You've got these oil companies calling themselves energy companies, and then now this one is putting their money where their mouth is. And then not to just kind of keep this on Shell, but we got BP and then another conglomerate of locals type stations around the world. They just both put in large orders for Tesla V4 supercharger dispensers. So this is heating up.
Yeah, exactly. This is something that I believe the convenience store industry has seen the writing is on the wall. Circle K, another one here in Canada, and of course in Europe, that US as well, that has decided that they're going to be placing somewhere between 2 to 5 chargers on routes that lend themselves to EV charging. So this is another convenience group that has said, you know what, if the public is moving from pumps to charging infrastructure, we better have that charging infrastructure at our locations, or no one's going to be buying our overpriced Snickers bars because they're not coming here for charging anymore because, I'm sorry, they're not coming here to pump fuel because they don't have a vehicle that takes fuel. So right. If you add these new DC fast chargers, you're going to be able to keep those customers coming back because they're used to it. I don't know how many people I know that every morning it's part of their regimen that they will stop at the same gas station convenience store, fill up their tank or add to their tank, but at least they're getting a coffee, they're getting a muffin, and then they're on their way to work. So right. If you eliminate that, you're going to lose a ton of customers. And those convenience stores, they're not making money on gas anyways. Yeah. Right? They're not making money on the gas because it's just a draw to get them in to buy the overpriced food and drinks.
Yeah, I mean, like we've had countless stories of people who who were heavy smokers or just loved the lottery, and then they got out of all of it because they didn't have to go get gas anymore. They're like, no, it's now an extra trip to go do this. I'm not doing that.
Not doing that.
I'd rather be home.
Exactly. Exactly.
This is also go ahead.
Go ahead, Casey.
This is also another opportunity for them because, like you said, they've got the $5 Snickers bar, but that was only because people were only spending an extra 5 minutes on top of the pumping the car and then get back on the road situation. Now, with everybody spending between 12 to 30 minutes, you can get into more profitable items like hot food ready to eat, or I don't know, maybe cozy airplane pillows for somebody who wants to kick back and take a nap.
Massage chairs.
Massage chairs, yes. They could copy Kettleman City if they wanted to. Not the city, but the supercharger site. And have just a different style. Like Mercedes has tried this at a couple of their new locations where they are lounges with they've got the canopies. It may or may not have solar, and it's pretty, and it's the kind of place a Mercedes customer might feel comfortable versus, hey, you get to go to this closed mall and look at it with the streetlights turned off. They've got that too, but they're doing a mixture, and this is a chance for these convenience store operators to try and get into some of that. And I've noticed around this area, there are a couple of stations that are just shut down. They've removed the canopy from overhead, so you've just got this old 1990s style square building and a rotting concrete pad. And then as I was leaving Virginia, I saw a couple of stations tear themselves down completely. And then they were almost done building themselves back up. But by the time I left, I'm like, are you going to sell this thing? Or are you planning to somehow recoup your investment before it's time to retire? Because, I didn't go in there that often as somebody who doesn't even know the price of gas. Didn't even realize that there were stations there. You're not going to be making it before the cars are gone. What is your plan here, guy? And it will work if you're going to be the last guy with the coolest, most on the routes, most convenient, all the amenities station. But what if you make the mistake and you're only fourth best?
You've wasted because there's going to be actually less customers overall.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have a good portion of the public that buys an EV being able to charge at home. And if that's the case, they're not stopping by the convenience store to get fuel. They may stop and get a coffee or a paper or whatever in the morning, or like you said, lotto ticket, whatever. Yeah. But the primary reason for those people to stop was typically to top up their tank, and that's not going to be the case anymore. So how many of those people will now just go by that particular location? So
yeah, I mean, a lot of these places are deep into town. So like if you're more than 5 minutes, if you're 5 minutes from the highway, it's too far. But if you're more than 5 minutes from the highway, like you're 10 minutes into town, you're not going to survive unless you've got another angle for this thing to work. And then you kind of want to be in a place where there's a lot of like tall buildings or just a lot of multifamily dwellings, like a lot of like townhouses and small apartment buildings, places where the landlord isn't progressive enough to put in chargers and kind of lock their customers in. Like when I rent this place out, it's got a Tesla charger, which now works for any electric car. And so if they've got one, they're not likely to leave my place and go somewhere else unless something happens, like me coming in for a season or two, or they find somebody who's got a charger for cheaper.
And why would they? Because it's the convenience factor that they're already home. Yeah. They're already doing their home stuff. Who wants to go to a charger and wait half an hour to charge it, plus the time to get there and get back? Nobody. So if you've got that convenience factor, then you're right. It becomes a real easy decision just to plug in wherever you are and get the juice there. So
definitely.
That is interesting. I'd like to ask you out there who's watching this, do you think that your routine would change? If you own a gas car currently, does that routine change for you if you could plug in your electric vehicle at home and leave your house with a full tank of electrons every day as opposed to having to stop? Would you change? Put your notes in the comments. Let us know. It'd be interesting to hear your feedback on this. If you already own an electric car, do you believe it's going to change those people's lives? Yes. I'd like to hear from you as well. And why do you think it'll change those people's lives? Give us some comments as to what you think.
I'll start you off. It was a paradigm shift for me, and I didn't really picture how much time I'd wasted per month at the stations and getting to them and getting out of them, because no matter what time of day you get in there, it could be 3 a.m., it could be well after lunchtime. There's always somebody who just shows up right in front of you to occupy the cashier's time, and you just want to get in and out. And now I don't even know what the price of gas is. Like, people are like, oh, here's the price of gas, and I start with this. I say, is that high? And usually it's right. But sometimes I say, is that high? And they look at me like I'm crazy. Oh, it must be low then. And they're like, yeah, this is a great deal. Okay. Because those are usually the only times they'll talk about it. Like, literally, like I was saying earlier, I was blowing past the station. They ended up tearing themselves down and building themselves back up. And I'd never really even set foot inside there to the point where I could realize what the price of gas was. You'll see one picture of me on my YouTube feed or Twitter feed, x.com, where I'm taking a picture in front of the sign. The week after, they tore the whole place down. And the only reason I knew the guy inside what his age was, like, I stopped to buy windshield washer fluid one day, and like literally, I passed so many gas stations I don't even realize they're there. And somebody's like, "Oh, why don't you go to the gas station and grab this and that?" I'm like, where are they at?
Where would that be? I don't remember seeing one. Yeah.
Right. The same way that they're like, "Oh, I've never seen an electric car charger in my town." I'm like,
exactly. Same thing. Yep. Just opposite sides of the fence. Just like you said, Casey, I'm coming up on 10 years of electric vehicle ownership. In August of this year, it'll be 10 years. And when I was working my day job at the office, I used to love, during those 10 years, to go into the office and I would say, did anyone see the price of gas today? And they'd all moan and cry and say, oh, shut up, Mark. We know you drive an electric vehicle. We know we should drive one too. We just haven't done it yet. So that was always a bright spot in my day. I used to love doing that. But I digress. Tell us in the notes what you think.
So if you have an EV, how did it turn out for you? What did you think? And if you, assuming you bought the right one, because there are some people who bought an EV that did not fit their use case. And then if you have a gas vehicle and you haven't thought about it, or you're thinking about it, or what do you think it's going to be like for you?
Exactly. And will you visit some of these new Buc-ee's, BP, Sheetz, Wawa, all these groups that are trying to bring chargers to their locations? Are they the ones that will survive? So we will have to see. But if you haven't already, please give us a thumbs up on the video. Press that subscribe button. It helps a small channel like us. We would really appreciate it. And with that, we will sign off, and we will get back with you again and find out what's happening in the Tesla life.
See you Wednesday live at 7 p.m. Eastern.